Greetings from Gail. I'm Gail Gross, and I'm glad that you've joined me today. We're going to be working on the Impossible card. And you can see here that I've got quite an assortment that I've already made, all Christmas cards, using this really fun pattern. So let's get started. The reason this card, I think, is called Impossible is not because it's impossible to make. I just think it's because it's so hard to wrap your head around how it's designed. You can see from this card there's a little easel stand-up piece on it, but it's completely made from one piece of cardstock with the cuts and the folds, and it creates this card. And the first time I saw it, I just had a really hard time figuring out until I watched an instructional tutorial. And so that's why I want to share that with you as well today. So let's get started. The things that you'll need for this, as far as the basics, are a piece of cardstock for your base, which is 4.5 by 5.5 by 4.25 inches. That'll be the base of your card. In addition, you will need two pieces of cardstock that coordinate. I'm going to be using white. Both of these pieces will be 2 by 3.25. In addition, you will need whatever other cardstock you want for decorating, for this bracket piece that goes here and any other embellishments that you add to it, but you'll figure that out based on the paper that you are going to use. So the first thing that we need to do is do a score line. And this score line is going to be done at 2 1/8 inches. Okay, now normally I would use a bone folder to score this, but because I want you to see it, I'm actually going to use my pen. I'm going to line this up with the 4.25 inch edge along the top of my scoreboard. I'm going to flip this over so that you can see it a little bit better. So here is my 2 1/8 inch line, and I am going to score that. Okay? And that's it for right now with the scoreboard. Keep this around though, because you're going to need, it will help you later on as you put some of the pieces together. Next, we need our cutter. And the thing that's really important for you to note before you start cutting is this little notch right here on your blade mechanism on your cutter. Where that notch is right here indicates to you where the blade is on that inside part. So that as you're cutting, if you wanted to cut down to this 2 inch line and that little notch lines up with the 2 inches, that's where your cut would stop. It wouldn't be going further into it. That's important for us today because we need to stop along the score line on this card that we've got. So this is my score line. That's where I need to stop cutting each time. The first cut that I'm going to make is at 2 3/4. So I'm going to line up the left edge of my card and with the 5.5 inch length at the top of my cutter. And now I am going to cut just until that little notch hits the score line. And I stop it, and you can see that my cut has stopped right at the score line. Now I'm going to rotate my paper, and I'm going to be making my next cut at 1 inch. So this, I'm going on the opposite end from where my first cut was. And again, I'm going to put the paper down here, line up my cutter, and again, just cut until I get to that score line. I'm going to stop. I need to make another 1 inch cut at the other end of my paper. Luckily, my cutter has a ruler that extends on the right side of the cutting line as well. So I'm going to make use of that 1 inch line over here. And again, come down and cut until I hit my score line. So now I've got this cut on both sides on one half and down the center of the other half. I've already done that on the piece of raspberry cardstock that I want to use for the project today, because the papers that I'm using are from the Close to My Heart Oh What Fun paper pack, and they've got these pinks and greens in there. So this raspberry is the dark pink in it. So now that I've got my cut piece, I need to fold it so that it becomes the card that we have been looking at here. So the easiest way that I have found to make these folds is to start with this section where you've got the two cuts and you've got the big center section available. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fold that and burnish it with my bone folder. So that gives me that kind of stand-up easel design. Then I need to make it so that I have one of these big pieces in front and one in back. And that is as simple as simply rotating this piece and folding it the other direction. And there's my little stand-up easel card. Okay, let's do that again. Let's go back to the flat paper. And I've got my big section with my two side pieces here. And I'm going to fold that back. Then as that is standing up, I'm just going to rotate this piece and bring it forward along that same fold line. And now I've got the design the way I want it to be. That is really pretty easy. Now you'll notice that all of my cards that I have shown you have paper on them. And for the cards I made, I actually did a file on Design Space with my Cricut in order to cut those, but I know that not everybody has access to that. So I want to show you an easy way to use this card as a template for making those pieces. You can go with either side because they're actually exactly the same. And I'm just going to lay this down on a piece of scrap paper, and I am going to trace around this side piece, just this half piece. Okay. I'm going to go here, come down across that fold line, and then down through the center cut that I made. And there's my template for making my pattern pieces to go on here. Here's the one that I've cut with the Cricut, and you'll notice that it's a little bit smaller than the template that I just drew. You'll want to trim away parts of it so that you have some of the cardstock showing back behind when you put this down. And you'll notice that I am doing it so that it's butting up against this fold. Okay? And then this one will work on both sides here. It fits. And because this is double-sided paper, if I wanted to use the other side of the paper, all I have to do is reverse my fold. Now watch. Just as easy as flipping those two folds. And now my design is going the opposite direction, and I can use the other side of my paper. It's as easy as that. Now I've already taken another one and put this fun pattern paper from Oh What Fun that includes blues and greens and pinks for the Christmas. And so this is the basis of what I'm going to build on. Now I need to decorate, and you can see that I've done all kinds of decorations. This one's an ugly sweater design, and that is making use of that 2 by 3 1/4 inch white paper put on here and then decorated on top of it. So I'm going to make use of my Santa Claus again, and so I want a tree in the background. So what I'm going to be doing here is folding this down, and I am going to put my white piece down even with the fold. That will give me 3 sides of the paper that have a mat around it. But because this is only 2 inches to start with, you don't have a lot of space. I just thought that it works a little bit better to add that. Then I'm going to add my other embellishment, which in this case is my Santa Claus. But I wanted to have it on the card first so that I had a better idea. And I am going to just put him over here to the side, overlapping the tree. Okay? Now, because there isn't a lot of room on this card to write anything, and it'd be really hard once this is assembled to put anything on the back, I have created a little piece that's going to go on the back side here. That's why you need that second piece of white cardstock 2 by 3 1/4. And again, I'm just going to butt that up against the fold line. You could wait to put this on. If you don't know who you're giving the card to when you're making it, you could add this afterwards. I'm just going to put it on there for effect right now. Now you'll notice that if I was to put this card in an envelope, it's all kind of wonky is the best description that I can give for it, and it needs to be stabilized, okay? So you will see that on these other cards, I have created a bracket. Different sizes of brackets based on the sentiment that I'm using in each instance. And here's one that I didn't even use a sentiment. I used other images, put them on there, and added another sentiment on the back side. Okay? The size of the paper that you use for this is, of course, going to be dependent on the sentiment that you use. So here's what I'm going to put on mine, this one that we're working on right here. And this is just a 3/4 inch for the white and 1 inch for the blue. And then I want to set that down over here. But how can I make sure that it's not getting off kilter? This is where you can make use of your scoreboard again. So if I bring my scoreboard in here and I put it so that my card is up against both edges of the scoreboard, I can assure that I am going to have a flat surface there, and it's going to be even with all of the pieces the way they need to be. This piece is going to overlap, and so I don't want to completely cover the back with adhesive because of this opening right here. I'm just going to put a little bit of adhesive on each end, butt this up so that it's stable, and then I am just going to put my sentiment right there. Now, the card itself isn't going to move around. It's going to stay stable like that. The back part has this opening, and I've seen many instances where people have put a second bracket across there, like this card. It has a bracket in the front and the back. And you can do that, or you can just leave it open. And that's what I'm going to do with this one for the time being. But that is how quick and easy this little impossible card really is. So I've been using all of these products from Close to My Heart. And if you are interested in any of them and you do not have a Close to My Heart consultant, you are welcome to head over to my website. Here's the information. And take a look there and see if you find anything that you might be interested in. Here's the product that I used. This is the Oh What Fun paper pack. Just really bright, vivid colors and double-sided papers, so you get options on the back side as well. The cards that I did using Santa here, you can see them laying down, made use of the stamp and thin cut set called Oh What Fun Card Making. Not only is there the stamp, but the dies in order to cut out all of these shapes, and it makes it a lot easier than having to fussy cut those. For the sweater card, it's actually called Ugly Sweater, okay? And you do need to fussy cut that one, but it's really an easy design to cut out. And finally, the beautiful poinsettia came from the card set Wonder of the Season, and it has this beautiful poinsettia as well as pine cones and that lovely phrase with it. So I hope that you've enjoyed seeing how this card is put together, how really easy it is to do, and I trust that you will enjoy making some of your own. Thanks.